How's it going, guys? My name is Mike. Welcome to my channel. Today we are talking about gimbals. I feel like over the last 5 years, there's been a bunch of gimbals that have come out. The last couple years in particular, I feel like every few months there's a new latest and greatest gimbal that's coming out that has some new features, or that can hold a certain weight limit, or there's some cool new feature about it. I've tried a bunch of different gimbals. I've owned a handful, probably like 6 or 7 gimbals. I love gimbals. I think they should be used in the right time and place. I don't think you should always use them for everything. I think that handheld shots are really cool too, and I've been trying to diversify my content a little bit more lately. But there are certain things that I'm looking for in a gimbal that work well with the style of shooting that I do. So earlier this year, Zhiyun released a gimbal called the Zhiyun Weebill Lab. I did a review on it on this channel. I absolutely loved it. It was great. I went and shot with it in India. It was super small and lightweight. And for me, it was finally that gimbal that I was looking for that can fit into a backpack. And yeah, I was super happy with it. The one downside with it is that the weight limit isn't that much. So I couldn't use any of the heavier GM lenses, which I, to be honest, don't use too often anyways. I had the 24-70 2.8 for a little while, and I ended up returning it, mostly because it's a crazy expensive lens and it's really, really big and heavy. I rented the Tamron 28-75, and the focal range is a little bit tighter. But I read online that Tamron said because it's a 28 mil instead of a 24, they were able to reduce the weight by quite a bit. So the Tamron 28-75 is much lighter and a lot smaller, and it's still a 2.8. And that's kind of been like my favorite lens probably this year. The other thing that's nice about it is it has a close focusing distance, so I can take pretty up close macro shots or product photography shots with it, which is pretty neat. So recently Zhiyun hit me up and they said, "Hey Mike, we have a new stabilizer out. This is the Zhiyun Weebill S." This thing is absolutely incredible. As you can see, it's holding the 24-70 2.8 GM lens from Sony on my A7R II. And it's a super small little gimbal. It's actually the same exact design from what I can tell as the Weebill Lab from earlier this year. But it feels a little bit better made, and the motors definitely feel quite a bit stronger. So yeah, this thing is slowly becoming my favorite. It's actually definitely my favorite gimbal. So I could probably talk about this gimbal for hours, and I'm sure other people have done videos on it that they've talked about a lot of the nitty-gritty details. I kind of briefly just want to talk about 5 different features that stand out to me and why this is the perfect gimbal for me. So number 1 is size. As you can see here, when I take off the tripod on the bottom, it's super, super small. This has to be definitely the tiniest gimbal I've ever used. I don't have the handle on it right now. I can screw the handle on, and it still stays fairly compact. But what's nice is if you unscrew the handle, it's really easy to get this thing into a backpack, which for me is the big thing. I don't necessarily like, if I can fit everything in one bag for me, that is ideal. That way I can have like maybe a checked bag that has a couple things in it, like a tripod and some of my bigger stuff. But then I can also have a carry-on bag that I'm like, this is my one-stop shop for filmmaking. Like in this, I can find a little bit of audio equipment, I can find a stabilizer, depending on the shoot. I have a Mavic Air or a Mavic 2 Pro. I can bring either of those with me. But yeah, this thing, it fits away perfectly. I'm actually using Wandered's new backpack they did a Kickstarter with a couple months ago. And let me show you how this packs into that really quick. There's these little lockout points on the side of the stabilizer right here in red. Very similar to the design of the Lab, and now it's fully locked out. Here is the bag from Wandered that I'm loving right now. This thing is great. I'm gonna get into this in another video because I could talk about it for a while. So I can unscrew the top here. There's a couple compartments for lenses and things. This little guy basically sits right on the top of my bag, just like that. And close it up. I mean, that is incredible. And then on the side down here, I can open up this and I can toss in the camera. Boom. So now I've got it in the bag. You can see here, super small and compact. I cannot believe I just fit a gimbal in there, 24 to 70 GM, the whole package, all in the bag. I actually had this same setup and a Mavic Air in this backpack as well in Japan the last 10 days or so. And it fit all in one bag, which is kind of the goal for me. I'm pretty versatile right now. I could shoot handheld, I could do photos, or I could pull out the gimbal, which is kind of what I'm going for. All right, so that's size. Number 2 is versatility. At first when I got this, I saw the design and I was like, it kind of looks a little wonky and strange. Like I wasn't sure how I felt about it. They kind of like took a new approach to the way that gimbals look. Let me show you what I mean. Traditionally, most of the gimbals that are out that are one-handed look a lot like this. Let me turn this guy on really quick. Boom. So most of the traditional gimbals that are out now that are one-handed look a lot like this. You hold it in one hand and it's kind of like a stick. What's really cool on this one is they made the ability to unscrew this little bottom handle and screw it here. And now you can hold it like this. Pretty cool. I call it the underslung mode. I actually love it shooting like this because you can get these low to the ground shots. But what's also cool is that it's a lot easier to carry, which is awesome. It's so wonky when you're holding the one-handed one straight up and down. To carry them, I find it kind of like slightly strange. You can put a tripod on the bottom and set it down, but a lot of times I feel like it's kind of awkward, like I don't really know where to put it. With this, it just kind of rests in the palm of my hand and it's super easy to hold. But the other thing that's nice too is you can easily roll back up into kind of an upright position as well. So lots of different shooting styles you can do with this. There's also the vortex mode where it spins in like a 360. Yeah, a bunch of different modes when it comes to that, but I love how easy it is to hold. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite new way to shoot with a gimbal, and yeah, I just love that it's flexible. I can shoot the other way too if I want. All right, number 3 is external screen. So I actually love shooting with my external monitor. I'm using the Atomos Shinobi right now. This monitor is great. It's like 400 bucks. My favorite new feature on this that I probably figured out a little late in the game in the last year or so is using false color. You can use false color and it basically helps you expose for skin tones perfectly, which is a game changer for me. I feel like even some of my older YouTube videos I look back on and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like the sun is coming through like some of the windows in my place and it's just blasting the side of my skin, super overexposed. Hopefully no longer, I'm saying that and watch this be like awfully overexposed, but no longer with the Atomos Shinobi using false color, I can actually see exactly the kind of like color cast that it puts over your skin to make sure that I'm dialing the skin tones into that 70% range. I'll do another video on that. That being said, I do love external monitors. What's really cool is that I can mount my Atomos Shinobi to my Weebill if I want to, but what's really neat is that they added the ability to use your phone as an external monitor, which has been really awesome because sometimes in those lightweight run and gun modes, I don't really have space to carry extra stuff, and I love my monitor, but I think a lot of filmmakers are in the same boat. Sometimes in the moment, the run and gun moment, you don't have time to set stuff up. You just wanna get shooting. Then you're like scrambling for batteries for your monitor. You're looking for the HDMI cable and things. Yeah, the being able to use your phone as an external monitor, super, super cool. Love that feature. Definitely comes in handy. I used it a few times in Japan to quickly connect my phone. I have the Pro Max, the 11 Pro Max, so it's a much bigger screen than the little one on the back of my camera. Number 4 is menus. I love the fact that the menu system is built right into the handle. It's super easy to spin through the different menu settings and adjust the gimbals, adjust the motors, adjust the strength. There's even an auto tune mode for balancing it. Love that feature about this gimbal. And other gimbals in the past, I feel like I've had to connect through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi through an app and then make tweaks here and there. And those days are no longer. Yeah, you can just do it all through the menu, right on the handle. So again, all about those time-saving features and making things easier and simpler. Super stoked on the menu system. So the final thing I want to talk about is the payload limit. I didn't find the exact numbers of how much this thing can support online, but Zhiyun is saying that this thing is 300% stronger and 50% more responsive. There's also this auto tune mode that you can use to help kind of configure the lens and the camera setup once you kind of put everything together. That'll help balance out things perfectly. In my tests, I've found that Pretty much every combination that I put together worked fine. This is probably the heaviest setup I have. This is the 24-70. No issues whatsoever. I also tested it actually with the EOS R with an adapter and a Canon lens, and it worked with that as well. So pretty well equipped. I don't know how it would do with a bigger camera like the Canon 1DX. But I will say on mirrorless cameras, it works perfectly, even with these heavier lenses. Also, one other thing I want to add really quick too, on top of all that, the battery life in this thing is about 14 hours. It's pretty nuts. Like, I feel like I can shoot on this thing forever. I shot in Japan with it over the course of a handful of days, and I completely forgot about the battery a lot of times, and I woke up thinking, crap, the battery's probably dead, and it wasn't ever dead. And I'm looking at it now and it still says it has 2 bars, and I haven't charged it since I got back. So the batteries that this thing uses are pretty dang powerful, and I don't think for most people the battery life's gonna be that much of a concern, if any at all, unless you're shooting for 14 hours straight, which I don't know why you'd ever do that. Maybe a gnarly shoot or a wedding of sorts, something maybe. Overall, guys, if you couldn't tell, I do love this gimbal. It's definitely my favorite one I've ever used to date. I love the size. That's the main selling point for me. It's perfect. It fits all my lenses. Super adaptable and versatile to a bunch of my different shoot situations. And yeah, it's kind of the gimbal that I can put in my bag and not really think about it, and then it's there if I want it. So stoked on it. The link for the gimbal is below. I'll put the link to the backpack below. Any of the other gear I mentioned, the links to everything will be down below. I've got some videos coming up that are more travel related. I did a trip to Japan just recently, and a trip a couple years ago to Japan, and did this trail called the Kumano Kodo. I did this hike. It was like in the middle of nowhere in the boonies of Japan, and I hiked between these little tea houses and shrines and temples. Such an incredible experience, and for those of you guys who have been with me for a while, this channel started out as a travel channel, so I kind of want to keep incorporating travel stuff, if you guys are cool with it, into the channel, because it still means a lot to me. I also went to Rwanda earlier this year for the very first time, which was the experience of a lifetime. I was able to document mountain gorillas. There's about 600 of them left in the world. They're critically endangered, and it was pretty cool. I got to hike up and do kind of some guerrilla style filmmaking up there, shooting them in the trees and branches. And I'm gonna do a video on that too. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions about this gimbal, leave them in the comments. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys soon. Thanks.